Namaste, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of The Inward Way. It's good to have you here again today to wind down this first book with the title The Inward Way, although the whole series of podcasts is labeled The Inward Way, taken from the title of this first book. There's more that we could go on with The Inward Way in the next month and the month beyond, but I want to shift this next month in February to another book which deals with a simple way to move us from listening outwardly to someone read to you to listening to your own inward voice. It's a very simple process, one that one that I know by virtue of people telling me that they've practiced this process as I've taught it over the years, and it's made a world of difference in their life, changed their lives tremendously. So that'll start in February, and I will forewarn you that probably the second or third week you ought to have paper and pencil or pen or your laptop or book handy, my book handy, to do a little bit of inward work of your own. And then we'll share that as we go through the rest of the podcast in February. But okay, then let's get back to this book, The Inward Way. As I say, this will be the last episode in January and the last episode for this book, The Inward Way. I'm hopeful that I can offer some of the posts and insights that have come from going inward with these posts myself that will help you reflect on your own resonance, either positively or not having any at all. But we'll go from there. So here we go. First a post from episode 4. Only when you don't know yourself, the opinion of other people becomes important. That's a very important statement to take inward. Let me read it again. Only when you don't know yourself, the opinion of other people becomes important. Of course, it could be that you're afraid to look at yourself, but that's also part of what this post says. Now, this post, it seems to me, is a good gut check as to how you may be living your life right now. During these tumultuous times, it's all too easy to fall into depression, feeling less than good enough, to be filled with fear and anxiety. In such despair, it's only natural to fall into the need for opinion of others about our value. The point is not that this is wrong, only that it's pointing to the fact that you're probably very vulnerable and need some positive reinforcement. However, this feeling runs deeper in meaning than just that you may be vulnerable and need positive reinforcement. Spiritually, the act of looking outward for opinions of other people could also mean that you are failing to know what you really are. In other words, that you're avoiding going inward during these times of special vulnerability. When you are in touch with your real identity, that is the ineffable, loving essence of being, there is no need whatsoever for outside validation. There's no question about it. Knowing our authentic identity is rarely taught, even mentioned in Western civilization. So we're left without any context or process for living such rich spiritual reality. My way of dealing with this shortfall is to go inward and share what my own inner voice says about our real identity. This does not, even for a moment, mean that you should follow my voice. That would be like putting my head on your shoulders, and we've talked about how uncomfortable that could be and unseemly. What it does mean, however, is that we all have this deep healing truth that resides within us. Most of us are in denial about it, however. All we need is a sound relationship with our inner voice, our own inner wisdom that awaits only our awareness and demonstration. But as you know, no one can do that for us. Each of us is responsible for whatever energy, what truths we bring to the universe. However, we decide to bring what we've been told about ourselves to the surface. That would only add to the human travesty filled with opinion and belief, taken to be our own opinion and belief. However, should we choose to move beyond the limitations of belief and opinion, which can take you to the truth of your identity, all it will take is launching a daily practice of going inward to listen to your still, small voice. The more you practice this means of penetrating truth and living by it, the stronger it gets, and the more you live true to yourself. Indeed, this is the inward way. Give yourself to it for just 40 days and see where it takes you. My bet is that you'll be living a much fuller life, a life with great clarity, a sense of purpose and abundance, all from being aware of and faithfully demonstrating only your authentic self. Indeed, know thyself, and then live true to your authentic identity. This next post follows on the heels of the one we just read. It goes like this: You are your greatest healer. For hundreds of years, we have sought healing from the medical profession and the psychologists of the world. Yet the medical profession is only beginning to see the impact of stress and poor nutrition on our health. If anything, they deal with it as a last resort, a final possibility that there could be other factors that weigh on our health. One of my favorite declarations to come through these same fingers years ago is, "The only real guru is found inward, heard as the voice of silence." I sometimes jokingly call it our inner Google. This has proven to be true too many times to count. As a matter of fact, it's becoming a near constant source of infinite guidance, limited only by my occasional forgetfulness, or frankly, just plain being lazy. Yeah, me too. There's no healing physically. There's only shifting the level of symptoms, hiding what's really bothering you so the bottles of meds can continue to grow on your shelf. First off, if one goes inward for direction from the only real guru, the one that doesn't even have a medical degree, very soon inner wisdom begins to rule the day. What is the only requirement on our part? Staying aware. Always go inward to inquire about what is really going on with you. Most of the time, you receive a clear and precise message about what's ailing you is how you're looking at your relationship with your higher self, the real you, the you that flows from the authentic essence of being you already are, always have been, and always will be. The only way we cannot know and act from this sacred space is to forget that this is what we really are. When we forget our immense reality, we behave as though we're not the truth of our being. And we then resort to the machinations of shared belief and opinion, heard only outwardly, which inevitably cause some kind of pain. By functioning in the outer realms, we not only behave guided by the misperceptions of others, but we severely limit our approach to what heals us from the inside out. Well, let's take the current coronavirus impact on our lives as an example. Should we take the route of fear-mongering entities, we surely would be stressed out beyond belief. If we maintain a high level of self-imposed stress for a long time, it is certain our bodies will begin to shut down, even if we don't get the virus itself. However, should we come to understand that we are not our bodies, but our ideas about our bodies, and infinite spiritual beings, we decide to leave the fear-mongering aside and rest calmly in the comfort of our innate spiritual consciousness. Does this mean that we should take the latter path of inner calm, that we can ignore the outer advice and still be guaranteed not to get the virus? Well, what it means is that we reject the idea of outer disease and instead replace such erroneously placed dictates with the inner knowing that we are whole, sacred, eternal beings. I don't for a moment say this is an easy conversion to make, but it is a simple conversion to effect. Every time you have a thought about the virus or any other ailment for that matter, stop thinking about it. You're overthinking. We all do it. Thinking informs emotions, and emotions can pull us down energetically, even pragmatically. It works like a downward spiral. So instead of thinking about the possibility of getting the virus, knowing those thoughts will pull you down, go inward and ask for guidance. As you develop this process, you begin to really hear the guidance firmly ensconced in your inner voice. All you need to do then is to follow that voice throughout your day, and you won't need to listen to outer guidance. The inner is always just the right response for you in that moment. I'm going to break away from the reading of this particular one and share a little bit of a story with you. When I used to be on the road speaking about my books and getting in front of groups of people and so on, I made sure that at each occasion, no matter what group I was speaking with, I would ask this one question. The question was, how many of you know what intuition is? Well, invariably, every hand would be raised. Man, woman, made no difference. Then I would ask, how many of you have ever had your intuition fail you? In all the times I've asked that question, at all the groups I've spoken before, only 2 people have ever said, by raising their hand, that their intuition had failed them. In each case, I said to them, now I'm not asking you this question to embarrass you, but merely to ask if you would mind sharing how it is your intuition failed you. In both cases, they acquiesced and said, sure, I'll share. As it turned out, in both cases, the woman told stories about the fact, not that their intuition failed them, but rather that they had failed to follow their intuition, and the results, by thinking their way through it, were disastrous. Now, we all know that we have overthought a lot of things, and we were wrong in many of those occasions, maybe even caused disasters by overthinking it. So my next question to the group was, okay, if thinking or overthinking especially has caused you to make bad decisions, why would you follow anything else other than your intuition? That's a question I ask each of you to consider. Why follow anything but your intuition? I know you're all going to have an answer to it, and I'll bet I can tell you what that answer will be, but that's for you to discern for yourself. So just stay tuned, my friends. Just stay tuned inwardly. Healing thyself is the truth of the matter. Actually, healing thyself is the truth over matter. Staying aware of and following your inner voice is the ultimate healer. Try it. You'll love it. Okay, the next post is, you cannot calm the storm. Stop trying. What you can do is calm yourself. The storm will pass. There are many seeming tragedies, alarming circumstances, and situations in our lifetimes that make a distinct imprint on our emotions. And if we have yet to master the idea that we're not in charge of everything and can control only what we naturally can, in large part we'll deal with all of them as if the world is about to end for us, or at the very least, that like we're constantly living in the midst of some kind of storm. Well, we are not. And if we are feeling we are, it's because we're feeling we're a victim, and we are not victims. It's amazing, however, how many people cast themselves as victims. He dumped me and made me feel so low. My friend died and left me alone. My car broke down, left me trying to fix it again. It's not life's incidents that cripple us, that feel like storms for us. It's our feelings and thoughts and energy we bring to life that govern how we view them. And it's we, only we, who are responsible for our attributions, no one else but us. The nature of circumstances notwithstanding, they will pass over time. Unfortunately, however, until we master our feelings and the labels we put on life, the storm-like atmosphere can continue until we set it all free. That's all it takes, setting it all free. I have a headache. I can either perpetually complain about it or get about my day and forget that it's even there. And soon it won't be there. It's the "this too shall pass" attitude. Let that be your practice. It's really no more difficult than that. It's time for us to get over ourselves already. Take that as an admonition and let nothing less be an option. See, the storm has already passed. The next post. People fall out of your life as your frequency rises. Let them go. This is part of your frequency rising. Over the years, I've watched many couples where one or the other shifts their value system and decides to move on in a different direction. It's particularly so when one of them decides to focus on their spiritual development and the other chooses to stay in the ego consciousness realm, where what's important is the outer world and the collections of relationships and things. Invariably, unless the couple, for example, sits down together and decides what's best for both of them at the same time, they end up going their own ways, maybe staying in a relationship, but going their own ways nevertheless. And if one seems threatened by the other's behavior, and in the process wants them to change to fit their own behavior, then the splits come. Put simply, it's clearly okay for them to go down their own path, hopefully while respecting and supporting the other to do the very same. However, here is where it gets dicey. If there isn't some mutual support and respect, it's a sure bet the relationship will dissolve. And it's perfectly okay to let happen. There is no permanence in life. Life is totally impermanent in so many different ways. But to stay stuck in an incompatible relationship just because we've been raised to do that is irresponsible on the part of both parties. When we are, for whatever reason, moved to chart a different course for ourselves, particularly when it's to focus on spiritual calling, our energetic frequency rises. For the person or persons who choose to stay on the same course with ego consciousness, their energy stays the same as it has been. It's this discrepancy between energies that begins to feel as though we're estranged, as though we're not in the same plane of existence any longer, and that's only because we no longer are. These differing frequencies then come to drive a wedge between one person and another. At least that's the way it feels. Now here's the most difficult part. The most difficult part comes when we fail to give ourselves permission to move on. This lack of permission may come from feelings of guilt or even shame, or from some ironclad mindset that forms a solid barrier around sound reason, or our inner voice. It's not a crime or lack of ethics that ensues when we finally see it's time to move on. It's only about taking good care of ourselves. As the expression goes, set the bird free. If it's to be, it will return. If not, be grateful for the time you had together. It's really quite that simple. So continue to pay attention to your rising frequency and live in the comfort and fulfillment it will provide. Surely so. And celebrate that you both have moved on to ventures of your own choice. And respect the other to do the same. Next post. Feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response and fear-based distraction from what you'd be forced to acknowledge and feel if you slow down. Oh, so many of us, including yours truly, are guilty of that one. Let me read it again. Feeling the need to be busy all the time is a trauma response and fear-based distraction from what you'd be forced to acknowledge and feel if you just slowed down. Does at least the opening phrase sound familiar to you? We have been taught so well to stay busy, to move past grief by doing so, to change our fear into action, all simply by staying busy, busy, busy. Of course, such a habit also comes out of thinking we have to be on the achievement road or we will have lost our neighbor's dismiss. Interestingly, we're not human doings, though we behave as though we are. We're human beings, or in spiritual terms, we're humans practicing being in all kinds of forms. Being at peace, being at joy, being purposeful, being loving kind. When we go inward instead of chasing outer approval or validation of any kind, we soon find out that we're already complete, already whole, already all we'll ever need to be. But you see, this is the very comprehension we fear, like a boogeyman in our closet. We're so hooked on believing and delivering to the universe what others have told us we are to do or be or do, that the mere thought of something else being the truth of the matter scares the wits out of us. So what do we use to keep from looking inward? We use busyness, endless strings of disappointing relationships, unceasing collections of things we enjoy momentarily, but that soon lay fallow in the fields of discontent. One disappointing job after another, unending travel jaunts, hobby after hobby after hobby. Take a moment now to go inward and discern which form of outer chaos you use to divert attention from the real you, your real identity. The authentic you you're currently missing and often long for. Primarily because hiding from your real self is a favorite mode of operation for many these days. Living in hiding oftentimes has us stuffing our feelings, which surface later in life in some exaggerated form. Anger becomes fury. Grief becomes self-pity. Hurt becomes bodily pain. Such divisionary, blah, blah, blah. Got that tongue caught in the eye tooth again. Such diversionary tactics are much like those used by our federal government these days, distracting our focus from what's really happening behind the scenes by using outer chaos. We're clouded from that which is against our greater good happening beneath the covers. If we're infuriated or otherwise moved by such tactics, it's only because we're doing the same thing to ourselves, distracting ourselves from going inwards, under the metaphorical covers, into our spiritual authenticity, by creating never-ending distractions throughout our daily lives. Take just a few moments a day to go inward. You don't need to do it and force it all day long. It doesn't matter what method you use. Just do it. No, I'll say that differently. Just be it. Be inward. Each time we are being inward, we are enhancing our listening skills, and soon we'll build confidence and discerning spiritual awareness about our lives and its loving purpose and clearer course for us. A friend recently said to me that she felt the need to do something purposeful that day. What she had been doing was resting, becoming healthier, stronger, building her appetite and clearing her mind. I returned a note to her asking what she thought being restful, being healthy, being strong, and being clear of mind was not purposeful enough for her. I didn't get an answer, nor did I expect one, really. The next post. 10 years from now, make sure you can say that you chose your life. You didn't settle for it. Most of us either come to life as victims, settling for what life supposedly puts onto us, or instead we fashion every inch of it, failing to loosen our grip on wanting to control it all. Neither way, obviously, is the truth of our being, but mere figments of our ego need, our spiritual weakness. There is a third way, the inward way, which has been described in earlier sections of this book. If the inward way didn't soak in fully earlier, take a few moments now to take earlier descriptions to new levels of being. Here's yet another chance to practice your new level of being, living true to your authentic self. The key to the inward way, as you'll remember, is to shut out all external, outward focus and all you've learned from outward sources. Why, you ask? Because the authentic you is found only inward, by being aware of the still small voice and its limitless renderings, which, by the way, is your own voice, your higher self. Staying aware of our response to such renderings tells us everything we need to know about ourselves, and it sure won't match what others have led us to believe we are, which is not only far different, but far less. By staying aware of and following our inward voice minute by minute, we never need to settle for anything, and we won't be victimized. Instead, we're obtaining the exact and only correct insights we need to live precisely as we were meant to live, only for our highest good and the good of others, nothing less. I'm being asked to speak momentarily about the need for hope. In various religions and self-help programs, we're taught that living in hope and the promise of some external God that will take care of us will be taken care of. Well, at the risk of being a heretic, I want to say this. Hope is not necessary at all when we live from the inside out, because when we're living from the inside out, we continually live in the truth of our being, and nothing else is required. Nothing else is required, nothing to need to hope for. It happens because we're living it. This corresponds to the KISS method, and you all know it. Keep it simple, stupid. Only one path, one journey. Okay, this ties in very much, and it probably will be the last one of the last one of this. The last one of this episode. Hello, James. Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. And then let your intuition guide you. It's perfectly okay to listen to what people say, but mostly as a frame of reference against to measure what they actually do about what they say. So many have perfected the mask of speech to gain all they want in life, telling people what they want to hear, flattering them beyond reality to the point people will think how wonderful they are, persuading another to correspond to their point of view, even the establishment of boundaries so that they control the other. And of course, no matter the technique, gaining a favor of one over the other. Learning to master a keen sense of awareness, both of behavior and nonverbal cues, can make a world of difference. It's taken me a long time to develop that sense, and I'm not quite there yet. I need merely to continue to stay aware of it. After much focus on developing a more sensitive awareness of such conditions, it's now quite simple to discern disunity between word and action, even to discern various forms of energy one gives off. Whatever it takes, it's well worth the effort to discern such differing life values and means of communication. It can become a whole package of discernment, spoken words, actions, energy fields, and good old reliable intuition, I would say, above all. Frankly, if I were to suggest to anyone just beginning to learn about such matters, I'd definitely suggest starting with the development of a highly tuned intuition. The information emanating from the intuition is usually all you need to know about anyone or any situation to move forward. The rest of the search about such matters is usually prompted by our ego consciousness, because what that's saying is we don't already have it. We have it, we have just shut it off, blinded ourselves to it. So while starting with words and actions may be the direction you wish to take, you'd still be far ahead to concentrate on intuition. A quick story which shows up in several of my books, but still merits repeating now. And I think I already told you the story. As a matter of fact, I did with the last one when I was speaking and asking people if they knew what intuition was and so on down the line. So I won't repeat that again. Now let me ask you, what is your answer? Why is it that you, like most of us, certainly me from time to time, fail to follow our intuition when our intuition has never failed us like our intellect has? Why would he trust anything but our intuition to chart our journey? Your answer? Answer only for yourself, of course, just so you have a clear way to sort your way through life on a spiritual level. I leave that up to you now. Stay aware, my friend. Stay aware. Okay, we've gone a little bit over a half hour, but that's perfectly fine. That's it for the fourth episode of The Inward Way. As I mentioned at the beginning of this session, next month, starting the first Wednesday in February, we'll be dealing with weekly sessions on how to follow a process that will help you get to your own inner voice regularly, as much as you want it. That book will be The 3 Questions, A Simple Process for Spiritual Fulfillment. Obviously, it's available on local bookstores, Amazon, whatever, or you can just go to the website, www.theinwardway.live, and on the books that inspire section of that website, you can get that book if you wish. It'll be helpful, I think, not necessarily to buy it, but it could help reinforce the process for you. And if it does that for you, it's well worth it. So I look forward to doing something new, slightly different, but yet certainly related to what we've been talking about through the Inward Way, because this is a process that takes you to a regular means of accessing that inward way. That is what you get from the inward way. They're staring you in the face, your authentic self. And so, my friends, I close with this. For January, those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who were so busy with ignoring the music. Don't ignore your music. Be it. Namaste, my friends. I love you. Stay well and healthy.